Hey, welcome back to the channel. Imagine having the most powerful weapon in the world at your disposal, but not knowing how to use it. That's your mind. In a world where we're constantly glued to our phones, computers, and distractions, it's easy to forget that, at the end of the day, your mind is all you truly have. When life gets dark, when you're dealing with loss, pain, or depression, Google can't save you. Your brain's your only companion in those quiet, lonely hours, and if you don't take control of it, it will control you. Your mind wants to take the easy way out, to pull you into doubt, fear, and excuses. But the moment you take charge, the moment you tell your brain where to go, that's when everything changes. For me, survival wasn't about hoping things would get better, it was about figuring out how to make it work. And the only thing I knew back then? Hard work. That was the answer to everything. No shortcuts, no hacks, just relentless effort. I remember struggling to memorize a paragraph, trying to prepare for a test. Read it once, didn't get it. Read it again, still didn't get it. So I wrote it down. Then I wrote it again, over and over. And eventually, it clicked. That's when I realized if I just kept coming back to something, refusing to quit, my mind would have no choice but to adapt. Couldn't swim. Back in the water, sinking. Try again. Can't read. Keep going. No matter what, I gave myself no way out. My mind had no choice but to figure it out because I wasn't stopping. And let me tell you something. Your mind knows when you're serious. It knows when you're just saying, I'll try, versus when you're truly all in. When I was in Navy SEAL training, people would ask, how did you last 18 months in a 6-month program? How did you survive 3 hell weeks in a year? Simple. I made suffering my new normal. I stopped fighting against the struggle and learned to embrace it. When I lived in a $7 a month shack, I didn't just endure it. I found a way to love it. Because once you stop resisting hardship and start using it to fuel you, nothing can break you. Moving into that place felt like a step up, a place I never wanted to leave because I knew what was behind me. But when I think back to that tiny, rundown spot we could barely afford, it wasn't just a place, it was my reality. There was no choice. My mind accepted it. This was home. So when I found myself in Navy SEAL training, enduring the brutal grind for months on end, it became clear after the first round that this wasn't going to be some quick challenge. It was a way of life. My body was failing, cracking under the pressure, but my mind had to adjust. Every morning felt like clocking in for work, only my job was suffering. Pain, exhaustion, broken bones, injuries that would make most people quit. I didn't see them as roadblocks. They became my routine. My feet were duct taped together just to keep going. Stress fractures ran up my shins. But none of that mattered. My mind had accepted this new standard. If I wasn't broken, I wasn't working hard enough. And once that became my truth, I didn't just survive SEAL training. I owned it. I became the one in charge of my suffering. I didn't wait for pain to come find me. I stepped into it, took control, and made it mine. At my lowest point, I was 297 pounds, out of shape, stuck in a job spraying for cockroaches, earning just enough to scrape by. And the terrifying part? I thought I was giving it my all. That was the limit I had set for myself, believing that was the best I could do. But a few years later, standing there, 106 pounds lighter, graduating from SEAL training, I realized just how wrong I was. That past version of me had never even come close to real effort. Most people don't. They think they're pushing hard until they actually do, until obsession takes over, until the struggle isn't something they avoid, it's something they own. That's the thing most don't understand. We have no clue what we're truly capable of until we start operating on a level where comfort doesn't exist, where easy isn't an option. Yet people hear my story and think it's extreme, that it's some kind of sickness to embrace hardship like that. But that's only because they've never pushed far enough to see what's on the other side. I figured out how the brain works, not because someone handed me a blueprint, but because I had no choice. I was just a scared kid, and that fear turned into fuel. With no foundation, no one to guide me, I built my own way by studying the mind, pushing past the limits everyone else accepted as unbreakable. The feeling you get when you realize what you're truly capable of, it's almost like invincibility. You can't summon it on demand, but when it matters, when you need it, you know where to find it. And that changes everything. Imagine being up at 3:30 in the morning, feet broken, wrapping them in duct tape because there's no other way forward. Everyone else around you is healthy, stronger maybe, better prepared, but you're still there. You're still pushing. You're about to step into one of the hardest training environments in the world, and you're already at a disadvantage. But instead of giving in, you feed off it. You tap into something deeper. If you focus on the pain, on how unfair it is, you're done before you start. But if you flip it, if you say, I'm broken and I'm still here, then suddenly that pain becomes power. That's what most people don't see. When things start to suck at the highest level, your brain stops reaching for excuses, for reasons to quit. It shifts into survival mode, and all that anger, all that fear, it disappears. There's only one thing left: keep moving. Most people don't dig deep enough to understand what really drives them. It's not about proving people wrong. It's not about getting revenge. That kind of motivation fades, it burns out. But when you find something deeper, when you strip everything down to the rawest level, to the core of who you are, that's when nothing can touch you. That's when you become untouchable, because nothing external can take that away. It's buried so deep in you that no failure, no pain, no doubt can burn it out. And you don't get there by accident. You don't wake up one day and just have it. You find it in the trials and the suffering and the moments where everything in you wants to quit, but you keep going anyway. For me, it wasn't about the titles, the recognition. It wasn't about being a Navy SEAL or anything else. It was about looking in the mirror and being proud of the person looking back at me. Because for too long, I wasn't. I didn't love myself. And a lot of people go through life chasing happiness first, thinking peace comes before the struggle. But that's not how it works. You don't find real peace by avoiding suffering. You find it by walking straight through it, by being accountable every single day, doing what's right, pushing yourself even when no one's watching, even when no one cares. Because at the end of the day, that's what separates those who do from those who just dream about it. And that's the only thing that truly matters.